In this scene, when Sherlock Holmes first comes face to face with Professor Moriarty, Arthur Conan Doyle has placed an obscure message. In all of Doyle's work, Sherlock Holmes represents the truth seeker. Holmes solves many crimes, most of which are committed by criminal individuals. But his main rival, Professor Moriarty, represents something very different. In another episode, Holmes describes Moriarty this way. He is the organizer of half that is evil, and nearly all that is undetected in this great city. He is never caught. His agent is caught, but the central power is never caught. He's seldom even suspected. We shall not see the professor tonight. Moriarty is never caught because he governs each crime from behind the scenes. Moriarty is an anagram for I am Rotary. He runs the wheel of crime by turning its cogs. In the Sherlock Holmes mysteries, Moriarty represents the shadow government, the cabal.
You have less frontal development than I should have expected.
Here, Moriarty seems to be saying that a smart man like Holmes ought to have a bigger frontal lobe, but really he's calling attention to their different natures. This is more obvious in Doyle's original text, as Holmes describes the appearance of Moriarty in this first meeting. His face protrudes forward and is forever slowly oscillating from side to side in a curiously reptilian fashion.
It's a dangerous habit to finger loaded firearms in the pocket of one's dressing gown.
Moriarty's first act is to literally disarm Sherlock Holmes. He does this by helpfully stating the danger to the owner of the gun. Once this is accomplished, Moriarty can safely turn his back on Holmes without fear and can do as he pleases in Holmes' private residence. In the next two lines of dialogue, Doyle marks out the parameters of the relationship between the cabal and the conspiracy theorists, the people today referred to as truthers.
You evidently don't know me.
On the contrary, I think it's fairly evident that I do.
This is Doyle admitting his knowledge of a contingent of people who will have ears to hear his hidden message.
I can spare you 5 minutes, if you have anything to say.
All that I have to say has already crossed your mind.
And possibly my answer has already crossed yours.
You stand fast.
Absolutely.
Moriarty then proceeds to tell Holmes the absolute truth.
You frustrated me in the affair of the French gold.
So it was you behind the Red-Headed League. A very ingenious and well-contrived idea.
High praise from you. You crossed my path first on the 4th of January. By the middle of February, I was seriously inconvenienced by you. And at the end of March, I was absolutely hampered in my plans. And now, with this last business in France, you have placed me in such a position by your continual persecution that I am in positive danger of losing my liberty.
Obviously, what Moriarty has lost over these 4 months has been monetary. But his complaint is the danger to his liberty The Cabal is free to do as it pleases, but that freedom can be threatened by seekers of truth.
The situation is becoming an impossible one.
With all the power behind Moriarty, he could easily get Sherlock Holmes out of his way. But he's come here to face him, and this is the message Doyle is obliged to convey, because Moriarty, as the Cabal, is obliged to seek our consent. They cannot perpetrate their crimes without that consent.
Have you any suggestion to make?
You must drop it, Mr. Holmes. You really must, you know.
And what if I refuse?
I'm quite sure that a man of your intelligence will see that there can be but one outcome to this affair. It is necessary that you should withdraw. You have worked things in such a fashion that we have only one resource left. It has been an intellectual treat to me to see the way in which you've grappled with this matter. But I say unaffectedly that it would be a grief to me to be forced to take an extreme measure. Oh, you smile, sir. But it really would, I do assure you.
Danger is part of my trade.
This is not danger.
And here, Moriarty describes the structure and nature of the Cabal.
It is inevitable destruction. You stand in the way not merely of an individual, but of a mighty organization, the full extent of which even you, with all your cleverness, have been unable to realize. You must stand clear, Mr. Holmes, or be trodden underfoot.
You know, I'm afraid that in the pleasure of this conversation, I'm neglecting business of importance, which awaits me elsewhere.
Well, well. It seems a pity. But I've done what I could.
At this point, Moriarty admits that he's failed to gain Sherlock's agreement to withdraw.
This is a duel between you and me, Mr. Holmes. You hope to place me in the dock. You hope to beat me. If you are clever enough to bring destruction on me, rest assured, I shall do as much for you.
You have paid me several compliments, Mr. Moriarty. Let me pay you one in return when I say that if I were assured of the former eventuality, I would, in the interests of the public, cheerfully accept the latter.
I can promise you the one, but not the other.
Listen here to the order in which Moriarty admits his ultimate defeat at the hands of a truth-seeker refusing to consent to his request. The former eventuality was Moriarty's own destruction. He can promise that one, but not the destruction of Sherlock Holmes. Without Holmes' consent, Moriarty loses. His defeat now remains simply to be played out.